These graphs reveal a lot about the British economy. The most fundamental and important component determining the standard of living, or the most substantial source of economic success, is productivity, in particular. A country can only grow in certain amount of products and services it consumes without productivity. More individuals working or working longer shifts results in better incomes, profits, and tax receipts. Although productivity isn't everything, in the long run, it is practically everything, according to Paul Krugman, the economics Nobel laureate. Productivity has increased consistently since the Second World War. Therefore, by the middle of the 2000s, British workers were producing as much in an hour as 5 of their predecessors had done a century earlier. However, productivity began to decline around the time of the 2008 to 2009 financial crisis. The productivity puzzle is a name for this abrupt break. Zooming in makes it obvious. Since 2008, there has been virtually little growth. Today's workers create the same amount per hour as those from 10 years ago. Despite the fact that many nations have experienced a slowdown, the growing productivity gap between the average British worker and those in the US, Germany, and France helps to explain why the British economy has recently seen shocks that are unheard of among the G7 nations. Long-term increases in productivity, or the capacity to produce more with less, are the only thing that truly matter for raising living standards. The amount of hours in a day and the health of the workforce eventually put a cap on this technique, even if in theory economies can develop when people work longer hours. Investment can increase labor productivity, or the quantity of labor that employees can generate in an hour. Alternatively, it may occur with higher total factor productivity, TFP, a metric of the overall effectiveness with which employees and capital are utilized. Although Britain lacks them, higher management standards or fiercer competition are connected to higher total factor productivity. If Britain had it, the pre-crisis trend would have resulted in a 25% increase in productivity. But don't imagine that Britain lacks the top businesses at the cutting edge of technology. They have these illustrious businesses. Sadly, they also have a sizable rump of underproductive businesses. This has been the situation for years. The current issue is the shortage of necessary skills among British workers. According to OECD data, England has one of the highest percentages of young people with poor skill levels among advanced economies. Britain has battled for years to give individuals the specialized skills that firms demand, from welding to engineering. Higher secondary credentials, or persons who continue to study after the age of 16 but do not seek a degree, make up about 32% of the population, which is significantly less than the OECD average of 42%. There is little cooperation between enterprises, local governments, further education institutions, and vocational schools. Plans are exactly that, plans for lifelong learning. The two markets in the economy that are most susceptible are housing and retail. We refer to this as the housing market when people purchase or sell homes, either as a primary residence or as an investment. The most valuable possession many people will ever own is their home. In Britain, 2/3 of households are still making mortgage payments on the home they reside in. Renters make up the final third of households, with private and public housing being distributed fairly evenly. Consequently, home building in Britain has recently experienced a severe decline. The 13-year property market boom in the UK is winding down. House prices are dropping while mortgage rates have been rising. 17% of people's wages are being consumed by mortgage payments. This comes on top of a cost of living issue that is already severely affecting many due to rising food and energy prices. They are reluctant to shop because they feel increasingly poorer when the value of their homes declines. When consumers are confident, they are more likely to spend money on products and services. When people are less confident, they are more inclined to cut down on their spending in order to conserve money, and this could cause a slowdown or recession in the economy. The level of consumer confidence in the UK is at its lowest point since the 1970s. It was even worse than it was 10 years ago during the financial crisis. Being a net energy importer, the UK has seen energy costs rise as a result of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which has increased the cost of natural gas. Over the winter, pipeline gas prices in Europe reached record highs, and liquefied natural gas is in high demand all over the world. Food prices have grown as a result of the fighting, and businesses are raising the prices they charge for goods and services as a result of their increased operating expenses. The UK may experience a recession first in the foreseeable future, according to this behavioral economic indicator. Everyone will be impacted because the United Kingdom is one of the most globally integrated economies and consists of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. In Britain, the service sector accounts for about 81% of GDP. The financial services sector in London, the biggest financial hub in the world, is primarily responsible for this. The production of transport equipment, pharmaceuticals, and information technology services, all sectors that are often seen as among Britain's strengths, also made a contribution. However, because of increased regulation, many sectors may not appear to be as productive as they once were. Investment is clearly Britain's biggest area of weakness. International foreign direct investment, FDI, has been erratic since the 2008 financial crisis. From 2008 to 2012, the UK saw a decrease in inward investment projects. Additionally, the UK had growth from 2012 to 2017. The UK has seen a decline in all three categories of FDI new investment, expansions, and mergers and acquisitions, M&A, since the Brexit vote, although expansions have been particularly effective. Britain routinely invests less than France, Germany, and the United States in a variety of investment categories, including research and development. Science, technology, and invention have significantly influenced economic progress throughout history, while many experts assert that it is now more difficult to make significant profits from a brilliant concept than it once was. The development of technologies like steam power and electricity during the 18th and 19th centuries transformed the agrarian economies of the UK and the US into industrial superpowers and raised living standards. But today, the US, China, and Japan are dominating the world economy with their invention and technology, whereas Britain failed to become a science and technology superpower. Britain yet ranks among the most powerful nations and has a significant cultural impact on the world. It belongs to important international organizations such as the World Trade Organization, the World Bank, NATO, and the Group of 7 and 20, and is a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. But there are many issues that need to be resolved in Britain, and policymakers are vital in this regard. Britain must embrace transformation if it wants to prevent a gloomy future. That will call for political fortitude, persuasion, and the capacity to come up with novel solutions.